ya. I shoot lasers. I wear sweet armor. Look at me, haters.
Well, I'm hard.
Exactly.
But, so yeah, I mean, when it comes to the whole gaming aspect, definitely getting people to work together to follow a storyline, or even when it's an open world kind of deal, to make the story, not just make it about them, but to everybody work together and complete some shit. I mean...
Well, really quickly, it's time for your guys' usual one-time-a-thing name drop of Jiggles. In the new campaign that I've been running with him, I actually have him playing a hero right now. And he's a lot like a weakened Superman, right? He's got the Superman-like abilities, but limited. I gave him something that I wasn't sure he'd be able to pull off, which is his character has the guilt complex. So if he can't save everybody, anybody gets hurt on his watch, he feels bad that he should have been able to do better. Bros, I'm telling you, they had this situation where they had to go stop this bad guy at this school. The bad guy had knocked down a wall. Jiggles swoops in, takes the bad guy out to the alley. They fight the bad guy. They beat the bad guy. They restrain the bad guy. Him and Ethan go running into the classroom to do their hero poses and give a riling speech to the kids, because I'm teaching them how to play old school hero stuff. Well, they realize one of the children's not breathing, right? Immediately, Jiggles' character collapses in on himself mentally. Like, he cannot deal with the fact that, oh my god, why didn't I look at the kids first? Why did I, have the need to fight this bad guy when there was clearly something more important? To the point where it actually winds up crippling him from saving the day. Ethan, on the other hand, takes a quick moment and he's like, all right, dude, I need to check this kid, see what's going on. Realizes the kid's not breathing. Their suits have life support systems within them, like shock paddles. And he remembers on his roll that they have an adrenaline shot built into the thigh of their outfit in case they need to have their heart restarted. So he rips that out, shoots this kid full of adrenaline. Things are good, right? So immediately, they save the day with this kid. Jiggles feels better, but it's eating at his guy, right? And it's great because he actually played this through. And it was cool watching him as a player, forcing himself to experience this level of remorse. I was really amazed that he was able to go through this. Well, later, I thought that was going to be it for the kid. They take the kid to the hospital, shit's good. Well, they decide to go out on another mission. Jiggles and Ethan decide, hey, we need to go check on this kid again, right? We should go say we're sorry and whatnot. So they go to the hospital. They see, the kid's getting better. His parents are praying over him. There's this little bit of a crazy vibe coming from them. They're talking about, the Lord's work, and they're sorry that their son's misdeeds led to this. Well, as they're leaving, Jiggles winds up rolling for his senses, and he can hear that something bad's going on with this kid. The nurses are talking about how the kid's been here several times before, and they're just surprised that this time it wasn't because of a punishment. Well, Jiggles takes a moment where he's like, I think, I might have to report this to the authorities, yada, yada. Ethan gets a bad feeling and goes running back, and Ethan is like his sidekick, who apparently is a little more heroic due to the crippling guilt that Jiggles is going through. Well, he gets back to the room and finds that the parents are now waterboarding this kid that's currently in a medical coma. So the kid winds up dying because, again, he's unconscious. He can't cough out all this water and everything. They get the parents arrested, but it completely, once again, cripples Jiggles.
It's not waterboarding if you use diesel.
Right. Well, and what's great is any other of my average players right now at the shop wouldn't be okay with taking the 6 to 10 turns that he took of not doing anything because his character is just so devastated. But, he fully played that through. It was awesome.
I mean,
I think he's getting his stride now as a gamer.
Yeah, and even though people say, oh, well, he just copies stuff from movies and stuff, so
what? Everybody
great,
copies everything.
He is a great role player, simply the fact that he tries to think of his character. He may base it off another character, but you know what? He lives that out. He gives it a new life.
And that's what I always did as a player, is I don't try to think, what would I myself do in this situation? I try to think, what would my character do?
Actually, I'm going to name drop on this topic.
Go for it.
You guys remember Arnold? Okay, well, I'm not going to go, hey, Arnold the fat guy, and I'm not going to say this was a fat acceptance moment, because Arnold is defined by more than just his size.
Right, he's not just Arnold Breaker of Chairs.
Exactly. He was playing a character, his first time playing D&D, he made a dark elf, he named her CK, he was gender bending that one, first character, whatever. The point of role-playing is to play what you want.
The point of role-playing is to play something that's not you.
Exactly. And CK was a ripoff, blatantly, of Drist on many levels.
Okay.
But it's his first character, and I gave him, it's what you have to work with. It's what you're familiar with. branch out later on, but try this first character who's obviously a Drizzt ripoff clone to get your feel about, getting your feet wet in the game. And he played tremendously, and one of the best parts of that game is he was having a bad time. The other players weren't really helping him out. And here I am, the neutral evil tiefling who's becoming party leader. And I look at the situation, and CK is off in the distance and a bunch of zombies going, "You guys run away, I'm going to do the heroic death." And Arnold is sitting behind this character sheet like I really am not feeling it anymore. And as far as me being a more experienced player and Arnold being a new player, I think he really did appreciate it because I got that feel from the way he was acting after the scenario. Is I ran out into this field of fucking zombies. I am a sorcerer. I have the same hit points as a house cat. Okay, you hit me with a fucking rogue teacup and I am down. I run out of the group of zombies. I've got a wand in my hand with I check the dial. My HUD says I got 12 fucking shots left, and I'm like, fuck it. Wrap one arm around CK, and I start dragging her back to the safe zone. Arnold looks at me like puzzlingly, and I say, in character, no one dies on my watch. And the rest of the group was like, holy fuck. The evil tiefling is willing to go this lengths for somebody who's just new to our group. What will they do for the rest of us if we pull our weight? Because the way I saw it in character, CK was pulling her weight, and behind the character sheet, Arnold was trying to be involved.
Right.
So,
well, that's what I love about the game that I got going on with all my old school players coming, is I have a couple guys that are coming out of gaming retirement. They haven't played in over a decade. They were always some of my favorite players because they fully give themselves into the character. And I constantly have people complain when I'm running my multiple campaigns and stuff like, dude, why do you do so many throwaway campaigns? And it's because I don't want to do a solid ongoing campaign until you guys learn how to properly do this. So it's like reincarnation. It's Groundhog's Day. I'm constantly making them replay stuff and play new stuff until they can learn how to be someone other than themselves. And I think a fun exercise will be one of the next times that I sit down and play with them. I think I'm all going to have them play mutant versions of themselves, except they won't be playing themselves. I will then, once those character sheets are filled out, shuffle them around and pass them back out, and they can learn to play each other.
a lot of people don't understand that to have a long-term campaign, the player needs to invest as much into the game as the GM has.
Yeah.
Yeah, when it comes to scheduling and stuff especially, because the GM puts so many more hours in behind the screen.
Well, dude, it's like trying to have a night of freaky sex, okay? This isn't going to work if we're not both into this. Like, plain and simple, it's a weird analogy, I know, whatever. I don't care. That is the point. Like, sex isn't good if your partner's not down with it, unless you're one of those weird freaks that has some issues.
Or if your partner just lays there and takes it.
Right. Like, if you can tell your partner's not enjoying themselves, it's not fun for you. It's the same thing as a DM. I don't want to run a game if you're not as invested into this game as I am. It really bugs me. And I've gotten to a point where I've tried getting that point across time and time again. And I will keep resetting stuff on people until they understand this. They're slowly getting there. I'm making dents.
Making dents slowly.
I'm making dents slowly. They will get something that is really awesome that they love, and I will pull it away from them if they misbehave.
Speaking of gaming, on your end,
Yes.
because this is more fun than talking about Vampire Bloodlines, did you get the latest missive from He Who Controls the Singularity?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
So that will be getting pulled into tomorrow's event.
And just between you and me, because this is probably going to be...
Between you, me, and our listeners.
you, me, and our listeners.
Yeah, I'm just chopped liver here.
If the group starts getting...
Hey, you shut up and be a listener.
Yeah. If the group starts getting a little too unruly, you can, release the Armada.
Not a problem. I still have that paperwork. I know right where it's at.
Yep.
Well, another nice thing is, again, they're going to be playing against my old school gamers. If any one of them is dumb enough to leave the group to go do their own thing, they will be slaughtered. And I've already explained to people tomorrow night because I have over 50 people showing up to try to play on this event.
It's like the Starks. When one leaves the pack, they're
right.
back.
Exactly. And I've explained to them all. If you die, it's done. Like, I'm not creating you a new character tonight. Tomorrow night, no matter what any of my other gamers seem to think, tomorrow night is about my old school original gamers. The dedicated players that made me love gaming to begin with. That's who tomorrow night is for. And if you're a new player, or I should just say hero in quotations, and you think tomorrow is going to be a focus on you, You are so wrong. I will be surprised if anyone that thinks that they can stand up against the hardcore Hellions walks out alive.
Why would they want to walk up against the hardcore Hellions to begin with? Do they have something to prove?
It's like being in prison, bro. The hardcore Hellions are the biggest group, and they seem to think, like, Jiggles, you are so guilty of this, bro. Jiggles seems to think if he can just take down even one of them, it'll somehow put him on some level. What they don't understand is even if you manage to kill a hardcore Hellion, the rest of the hardcore Hellions are going to kill you. And I love listening to, I'm going to name drop Shaver here. Shaver and Jiggles both talk about this. They're like, well, if we could just get their respect through battle. That's not how you gain an old school player's respect. You gain their respect through your storyline, bro.
I'm not going to support the hardcore Hellions, but I'm not going to work against them. But I think what would be fun to send in, are you familiar with Purple Aki?
I am.
Cosmically imbued Purple Aki may show up on the scene.
I'm probably showing up tomorrow with a list of, or a stack of 3x5s.
So yeah,
Nice.
if anybody out there is familiar with Purple Aki and a cosmically imbued Purple Aki shows up asking to feel your muscles, you've been warned. Yeah. But if you don't listen to this podcast, you have not been warned, so surprise.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a thing. The more dedicated a player is, the better a GM not only feels, but also the better a GM works to make the storyline more engaging. Like, I'm trying to do that. Like, my level 8s, they're cool. I like most of them, a lot. Some of them don't count because I already consider them family. But, it's one of those things of, like, the less effort I'm getting from their end, the less I put into it to...
It's like I said back in Season 1, dude.
Mm-hmm.
It's a symbiotic relationship. The more the characters show that they are invested, the more the GM will invest, and it works both ways.
Well, I think you're going to enjoy this. And I understand this podcast has gone long. You guys may break it into two, especially since we're no longer talking about it. But I've done this new thing, and I think you'll approve of this as a GM. I knew eventually this would go somewhere for me, which is I have my chaos lists. Horrible random chaos against my players. Some of it so terrible I cannot mention it on the podcast.
Terrible people.
Sexual assault clown. But anyways, I created a thing, and it's really been helping. I created a chaos list. And what it is it's 20 distractions for our heroes. So they'll be in the middle of fighting the bad guy, and oh no, there's the wandering child in the middle of the road. I'm forcing the guys to understand now, which is really helping with their characters, that it's more important. Every person in that town, every building, every monument, anything, it's all more important than your life. You're playing the hero, and for the longest time, the guys couldn't, for years I've been trying to get them to understand what it means to be a hero, and it's been too much about self, and they're just now between playing your game, and then hearing the guys talk about it, and the new stuff that I'm introduced to my game, they're finally to a point where they're starting to understand it doesn't matter if my character dies, as long as I die doing what my character does. I'm finally now starting to get them to understand it doesn't matter what you would personally do. Read your character's flaws, read your character's attributes, know your character, and it's getting to the point where I'm starting to enjoy gaming again.
That's definitely a wonderful thing. I mean, I guess because you've been unhappy for a long time now.
I was very unhappy for a very long time. I stopped gaming for a long time. The guys couldn't get it. They're like, what's the problem? All we did was shit all over the campaign, burn down the town, and kill a bunch of children. It's like, yeah, you're the good guys.
No, it's like when we were playing that time where I was the god of big and tall.
Yeah.
Like, we just randomly showed up in Portland. I was like, all right, let's just fucking go. And they're like, no, we should totally, like, destroy this place. And I tried to stop them.
Right, which, again, I appreciate that, but it's gotten to the point where I've realized I'm just going to have to start suspending players.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing that I'm about to start doing, because again, I'm starting to really enjoy gaming again, I'm about to start a pay-for-play gaming session, which is going to be really simple. I'm going to write out an epically huge campaign. It'll probably take over a year to play it. And I'm just going to let my players know, we play on this day. It's $5 if you want to play, so that if you're wasting my time, I'm at least getting paid for that time.
Actually, that is one thing that I'm kind of on the teeter-totter about.
Right.
Is pay to play. But at the same token, it does happen in the home games. I know I'm stumbling on words here, but I'm trying to explain it eloquently, if you will. When you're doing a home game, everybody chips in for pizza.
Right.
So technically everybody's paying to play.
Well, and here's my defense is
I'm
really
not
quickly,
attacking.
No, I get that. I know I'm not saying that you're attacking me. I'm saying this is just me defending my pay to play thing. I pay for all the paper that gets used in the game. And these guys are dying off like crazy. I'm burning through paper. I pay for all the pens and pencils that get used. I provide the vast majority of the dice because these gamers always lose their dice, forget their dice, stuff like that. And so what it is this is to recoup me for my losses of what I'm giving
Absolutely. And I'm not attacking you, actually.
Right, no, I respect that.
I'm going off on kind of the MMO defense here.
Right.
One of the reasons I love subscription-based games is it's like a douche filter. If I'm subscribing to a game, $15 a month, that's, sure, an hour of my life at work making money to make sure that I can keep playing that game. But at that point, I'm still investing in it.
Right.
I'm still paying to be there. Everybody else is paying to be there. And it kind of like, when you're doing a free-to-play game, you just get douche nozzles left and right.
Right. I get that a lot in my games.
So when people are paying to play in your game, I actually don't see anything wrong with it. I actually think this is a good experiment to see if it works at the game table, because it's something I don't see very often, to see if it is a douche filter, that people who are paying $5 to play for 4 hours, which is a really good...
Though keep in mind, I usually run about 8.
Okay, 8.
12.
Well, I
12 at times. 72 hours was my record. Sorry. Weird flex, but I had to.
I know. I'm going on the average here.
Right.
The average
is about 4 hours.
Average game session is about 4 hours. But still, to play $5 for 4 hours worth of entertainment is not that bad of an investment. That's $1.25 an hour. That's a soda. That's really good.
Right.
At the same time, everybody who's at the table is also paid to be there.
Right.
So I can kind of see this as a douche filter, and I think you're going to get some quality out of your gamers,
well,
especially starting off the first couple of months.
And it's also this other thing, which, again, this isn't a brag. I know this always sounds like a weird brag to other GMs when I talk about this, but you guys have seen, I'll have 20, 30 people show up for a game. This is me filtering out who really wants to play and who's just there to mess with people.
Mm-hmm.
Who's there just to pee on their teammate while he's sleeping. You know who you are.
Or
the only reason I took advantage of Draven's characters, I had no idea what was going on, and I had no idea I was in game.
Draven needed to be taken advantage of. Did you see how he was dressed?
I feel sorry for that kid. Yeah, he was wearing purple. I know. He asked to be graped in the mouth.
I'm gonna chain him to the radiator, and I'm gonna grape him all night.
That's right. I'm gonna go upstairs.
He got a grape whistle.
I know. He was asking for it. He was wearing purple. I didn't even know I was in game. I was just like, throw shit out and then like, hey, Q, this happened in game. And it's like, what? Why?
I mean, that's definitely one of the things is so many times when you sit down and play, there's someone who's really avid about it before you get game going, oh, I want a game, I want a game, I want a game. And then they sit down and they are literally there just to troll on people.
Or fill space.
And here's the other thing that people don't understand as well. Here's my other defense of pay to play. Again, on average, I'll put in 8, 12 hours. All right. Unlike players, I don't get time off during the game. They can switch between whose turn it is and do other stuff. I have to actively be controlling every NPC in the game, every scenario. And when they derail like they do in my game, my ability to switch and roll with that derail is crazy awesome, but it is a massive mental strain on me. All right. I'm a mental health patient. I take pills. I talk to a therapist about the crazy stuff that goes in my head, but without my schizophrenia, I don't think a DM can successfully do what I do.
I think that...
Not on the scale, but...
It's actually one of the things a lot of players don't understand, and most GMs will.
It's a job.
It is a job, and most GMs, you know... And players don't seem to get this. There are so many times after I run a game, and it could be a small game, 4 hours, 4 people, easy breezy. It could be a large game, 8 hours, 12 people, whatever. I've run various games, various sizes. When the game is done and I'm like, okay, that's it. You guys got your experience points. Go the fuck home. I'm tired.
I've had 1 hour games that have left me more drained from the mental crap that you have to put up with as a DM than an 8-hour game has.
It is. It's mentally exhausting as fuck. There are times when I'm less tired mentally coming home after a hard day of work than just dealing with players.
Well, and it's even worse for me because I'm like a vortex for a lot of my friends. So, like, I'll get done gaming. Man, I just want to sit on a couch, listen to some music, maybe smoke a hookah. Like, I'll tell the guys, I'm like, guys, we need a smoke break. I'm going to go smoke my hookah that I paid for. I need to smoke this. And then they'll all still rally around me and want to smoke at the same time. It's like, dude, the DM needs his 5 to 10 minutes.
Or the one that really gets me whenever everybody's crowding you and they still want to play while you're outside smoking.
Right, like I'll go outside smoke, but all right, dude, I brought my dice. We're on break.
That has happened to me so many times. I'll be like, 5-minute break, everybody. GM needs to go outside to have a cigarette.
Right.
I'm done.
And then like side table. I need to talk to you about this.
And then the side table talks, or the door will be cracked enough that I can hear what's going on in the room. And there'll be people inside going, hey, is it okay if my character does this, this, and this? And I'm like, shut up.
Real talk, DM to DM. No sin in gaming makes me more angry. Like, not angry like I'm mad angry, but angry like you guys are dumb. All right?
Okay.
Then when you have characters that the players try to side plot away from the GM, like they have some weird side pack deal going on that the storyteller's not supposed to know about.
Yeah.
That bugs me on a level I can't even put into words.
It's one thing when the GM takes somebody else out of the room and says, hey, I got some stuff to tell you. But when two players start sitting there scheming side by side and they're like, we're going to spring a surprise on the GM.
Right. If you want a mischievous plot or a little secret thing like that or whatever, your GM is your best friend. You gotta let us know that you have this secret thing that you're plotting against the group so we can facilitate it. That's what we do. We are the facilitator of your story. Don't try to turn against us.
And then they always wonder why like their plans don't work when they're like doing their little sidebar shit together and then spring a surprise on the GM.
Right.
Usually the GM is not prepared for it, and the GM or doesn't appreciate it.
Like the one that I had to deal with is I didn't want my players to be murder hobos.
Right.
It got to a point where a player requested some time to leave from game, and basically that player's probably not coming back for in-group stuff. But yeah, dude, he was like, oh, I'm just going to steal all the stuff out of their house. Everything I can sell, everything I can carry. Okay. He's a federal agent.
Do they not understand that the average person can't carry very much?
Yeah, and then when he got caught and reprimanded, he was rather annoyed because that's what everyone else does in-game. No one else does it in my games. Because if you're a murder hobo, who's going to trust you? Who's going to give you a mission?
If I was to, quote, steal everything from your guys' house that I could carry, do you have any idea how many trips I would be taking?
This is like
the books alone. Just that one row right there, you're looking at 2, if not 3 trips.
It's like a game a friend of mine was running. I have no understanding why. We have a druid in the group.
I play Elder Scrolls.
He's got a bag of holding, and he's got a fucking crowbar. We're in an ancient dungeon, going through tombs, and for some reason, the floor is made of marble. Marble tiles, which are worth a gold piece each, because they've got these wonderful engravings on them. The druid has to stop game so he can pry up the marble tiles on a 60 by 60 grid square room. So literally hundreds of these things that he's piling into his bag of holding. And then he realizes that there's also marble placards over the tombs with people's names on them, and decides to go for those too. Why?
No, you want to know another player sin, which, by the way, you need to make this a thing. You and me need to sit down and go over some of these so that you can then record these yourself and make them a thing. You've gone over, like, the GM 7 deadly sins. We need to go over the player 7 deadly sins. And do you know what player sloth is to me? That's where you don't want to take the time in game to actually learn stuff. So here's what you'll do is we'll be wrapping up for the night and you'll be like, oh, my character's gonna study all of those books and stuff between now and when we start next. I'm like, dude, you cannot master a skill off screen, okay?
One of the worst player sloth things, and there are so many goddamn examples, just bringing that up. One of the worst, though, that I can think of right off the top of my head is the player who's, like, excited to play, they want to play, they're going to play, they show up, and then they decide to play a loner. Great novels, horrible in RPGs.
Yeah.
They play a loner, they sit there, and they're
most hated player in my book, by the way.
Whenever anything happens, they're like, oh, well, this scene doesn't involve me. So they don't do anything because none of the scenes involve them. And then when you try to get them involved, they want to run off and go do something else, which is completely irrelevant whatsoever to the storyline, the other players, or anything else in the world.
Okay, really quickly, are you okay with this being split into two? Because
We're
I've
doing
got at
this.
least another 30 minutes, and we still got a lot of stuff that I want to cover really quickly.
Oh, we're
Because
covering.
now I'm on a tangent here. You know what I really hate? Yeah, let's do a segment called Things That GMs Hate. You know what I hate? I hate the player where they're like a mage or something like that. They come upon a library. All right, here's what I really hate. Are there any books that catch my eye? What? No, there's a shit ton of books in here. And then the obvious, I'm going to let my team go ahead. I'm going to read all these books. Do you have any idea how long it takes to read?
Do any of these books
They
catch
don't.
my eye?
Yeah, do any of these books catch my eye?
Do I know your character that fucking well?
Oh no, that is character sloth right there. Is when they walk into a room. Oh, is there anything that catches my eye? Well, I don't know. What the hell are you looking for?
What? I don't know your character's interest that well. It's your character.
All right, you need to let me know what you're going for. If you want me to just play your character, I can just play your character. It'll be better than how you're doing it. You can sit back and I'll just tell you a story if that's what you want. We'll get a campfire out. We'll make s'mores. Okay? Q might sing Kumbaya. I don't know. Weirder shit has happened. Okay? But you came here for a reason. You're here to play the character. Do your character stuff. Most annoying attribute I've ever seen somebody try to give their character, because in my game, as you guys know, my game has everything in it, right? I don't know if you guys have noticed, but one of the few random powers or attributes, however you want to go about it, that I never give out is super intelligence. And the reason why is because no matter how intelligent you make a character, it is limited by the dumbassity of whoever is playing it. That's why, as the DM...
Unless that player is really creative playing that's hyper intelligence.
Well, there's different. We have Google. You think they would at least Google what they're looking for?
They can Google it, or there's points in time, like, if you're looking at, D&D, that's a good example, because the way their points are spread out, the average person has an IQ of about 100, which is 10 on the character sheet.
Right.
A really well-read, involved person who knows a lot is going to have a stat of 12, maybe 13. Also 120 or 130 IQ. So you can directly translate it over by just adding a 0. When the player has a lower IQ than the character, they can always go, hey, Mr. GM, I know I'm not that smart as a player. Could you clue me into something my character might know? They could always ask advice.
But they don't.
They don't.
They don't. And here's my thing, too. Like, I wouldn't care if somebody wanted to take this, as long as you do the research. Okay? Like, again, my game has everything. If you get a Green Lantern ring in my game, all right, I expect you at the very minimal to go Google Green Lantern and figure out what they can do. It's available in nifty lists. Like, in the age of information, ignorance is a choice, and I think I'm getting to the point in the game where if you can't figure out how something works between talking to other players, asking the DM, or Googling it, I'm just gonna be like, you have no clue.
There are so many sins players create, and that's absolutely one of them, is when they play an intelligent character like an idiot, or they take a skill, they have absolutely no relevance in whatsoever, they haven't reviewed it. And one of the ones that, the most common offender I've seen on this one is string theory. Or anything related to string theory or quantum physics. They'll make a science character and they'll be like, well, according to quantum physics, and I've read up on it, and I'm like, well, what have you read? And then they cite like one YouTube video from like a really popular guy like Bill Nye, the sellout guy.
Yeah, Bill Nye, he's an engineer. Good job finding the engineer to explain quantum theory.
He's a paid actor, but regardless, that's like the only video that they've ever seen, and then suddenly they're an expert. It's like watching Law and Order, then they decide to play Batman, and they're like, well, we'll just put the fluids in the Googly machine, and we'll find out who the bad guy is through that. And it's like, no. A, that machine doesn't exist, and B, Law and Order is entertainment, not law and facts.
Hey. Just enhance the pixels.
Oh my god.
Enhance the pixels.
Just enhance.
Why? Really quickly, sidebar for a quick second. My Hellions will be showing up tomorrow between 6 and 7 p.m. I just got the message.
Okay, good.
So that gives you several hours.
Which I plan on doing. I'm going to message them all now because I put a who's actually going to show up. Jiggles responded. That was it.
Yeah, well, I'll make sure to let the guys know as well.
What about player, let's see, Sloth is an easy one.
Dude, being late to a planned game.
When you have
know what
weeks.
I mean? Like, you have planned games. You have times. You have dates.
I've got Facebook groups. I create events.
Dude, again, I will name drop here. I don't care. Jiggles, you live right down the road. You have no excuse. Stop getting high and oversleeping. Crawl out of bed. Jiggle down the road. Stop at 7-Eleven. Get a snack. You're a fat kid. And finish the trip. It's not hard.
It's true.
If I ran MX based off of time promptness and being prepared, we'd never play.
Exactly.
Only my hardcore hellions would be able to play. Again,
Right.
I can't sing their praise enough.
I think I might be able to make the list. I've been pretty prompt when you're like, we're scheduling game.
Well, you're not that hard to deal with, because even if you're late, unlike most of our gamers, and I hate to say this, a lot of gamers are dirt broke people, especially me. You have a car.
Yeah.
So you could be late, and it doesn't matter, because if I get a hold of you, you're probably within 10 to 15 minutes of getting to where we're at.
Mm-hmm.
I had the other day, I got blown off by 2 of the main gamers in my group, including Jiggles, who is the leader of the group. Yeah, I'm going to call it Jiggles a lot. Jiggles enjoys this.
Does the singularity need to punish Jiggles?
He's the leader of the superhero group, and he did the most unheroic thing in real life. He had to work a double at work. Didn't bother to message me about it, like the entire day. So I had multiple players that are all sitting around going, like, dude, we're ready to go. And I had to look at them, and I had to pull that teaching moment, because they're supposed to be heroes. I'm like, guys, you don't have a leader. Like, you can't do anything. Your team is sanctioned through the government. Without direct command, you can't do anything, and your 2 leaders are doing something else. Now, had he just messaged me and been like, hey, I can't make it, I would have been like, who are you delegating leadership to? Again, in the age of information, we all have cell phones. It's not hard to be like, I can't make it, here's why.
You know, the other thing gets me in gaming, and it kind of borders in between Sloth and borders in between Pride and Lust and a bunch of others, is the one that the GM shows favoritism to, typically the significant other. But the significant other typically doesn't do anything at all to deserve all the free shit, except for real life stuff.
Okay, so here's my thing. The mother of my children, okay? I'm not going to state her name in here. Most people know her. Yeah, I showed her favoritism in game, all right? Obviously, this person does naughty things to me. But here was the important part about it. Here's why I didn't feel bad about doing that. She was also an amazing gamer. She's one of the best villains that has ever played my game. She's no nonsense. You mess up on her team, she will put a bullet in your head, and she will have you cloned. And whatever it was that you were doing before that she didn't like, she will specify in the cloning process to have that trait removed from you and replaced with a new one. And she will do this as many times as she needs to. One of the most successful teams in my game are the Acolytes. Do you know why the Acolytes are so successful? Because there's not a single one of them, other than the 2 females that lead it, which is Naomi, happy birthday, and my baby mama. Other than those 2, they have killed every single other one of their teammates no less than 24 times until they have learned to play properly.
Well, the thing is, most GM significant others, though, they just sit there and do stupid shit. And going back in ancient history, there was one sleeping with the GM. She had the special ability that if she closed her eyes, since she couldn't see you, you couldn't see her.
That rule only applies to small children.
Well, no, she was not a small child, because it was somebody else in the group that got hit for statutory.
I'm hung like a small child. I should get this trait.
Regardless, she was sleeping with somebody, and the rest of the group felt like, why the fuck do we not get special powers, other than the fact that she was sleeping with the GM? But her superpower basically gave her a free don't need to be in combat card and still get her share of treasure, her share of XP, and her share of any rewards that were given out by NPCs. But every time combat started, she'd go hide in the corner and close her eyes and let the rest of us deal with it.
Well, see, and that's what I loved about my ex, is she would always engage in the story. She would always engage in combat, regardless. And it's not even like she's bulletproof or anything like that. She has pheromone manipulation and can cause pain and pleasure with a touch. She found ways to make that combative, all right? She never did that crap where something bad would happen to her character and she'd, like, glare at me, threaten not to sleep with me, I'm sleeping on the couch, any nonsense like that. Like, she legitimately was a player who actually did stuff. And I hate it. if you can't justify favoritism towards a player, there's a problem. Like, she was my favorite, and there were reasons behind it, and none of them were just, we're in a relationship together.
Favoritism towards a player who actually, like, fucking plays, I can see.
Well, yeah.
But when it's a significant other and they do nothing, or it's like GM's best friend.
I try to avoid ever having the significant other in game.
And the favorite, and the most times that I see the favoritism is by somebody who's getting favoritism in game for out of game shit that has no relevance.
Well, my last girlfriend, also known as She Who Can Burn in a Fire, she never played. I never let her engage in the game, specifically because I knew that it would have been unwarranted favoritism. She didn't have the type of mind that could do gaming properly, and I know that she would have found a way to twist it against me, and I'd cave in because, again, I'm manipulativable. It's not hard to get me to do things, especially when you touch the naughty bits. So I specifically did not allow her to play the game.
So if I punch you in the dick, I can have a super character.
You could have a super character, but it will be forever known that you touched my dick.
With my fist.
Hey, fisting's a thing. Okay, you can try to call it whatever you want. You cannot wash shame away.
No, I can just add that to my list of achievements. Fisted the fat man.
Yeah, touching my penis isn't on a list of achievements. It's on a list of regrets and low points in somebody's life. Believe me, there's never been a woman that has been doing really good in her life that has touched my penis.
Wow.
Hey!
That says a lot.
I am willing to admit certain things. It doesn't bother me, dude. I don't care. Oh, so that's another thing. Caring too much about your character. I get investment into a character by a player, right? But when you have a player that takes things happening to them in-game personally...
Yeah.
Like, have you ever had that where, like, my buddy Mario flipped a table, okay, over a lie that was told to him in-game by his arch-nemesis. It never even occurred to him, this is his arch-nemesis, he's gonna lie to you. This guy lied to Mario, told him that his girlfriend is really his biological sister, because Mario's character doesn't know his backstory of his family, right? In real life, he flips my table, kicks open my door, almost broke it, kicks open my door, runs down the stairs, drops dramatically to his knees under the full moon, screams at the stars, gets in his car, drives away. And this is before the time of cell phones, okay? We're talking the 90s. He drives away and will not pick up his house phone or talk to me for 2 weeks. I tried going to his house. I'm knocking on his door. His mom's telling me he's not there. His car is in the driveway. Okay? Like, he's outgrown that, but that's the level of personal. I've had people take games before, and it's a really bad thing to have happen.
I think one of the worst that I've had happen, and it's on a similar vein to that, people taking shit way too far. I had a group, like, fucking... Okay, so I pulled some shit on them in the vampire game, I admit. I pulled some shit on them in the D&D game. In the vampire game, the players figured that they were going to torture somebody for information. How reliable is torture for getting information?
It's not good. People will tell you anything to make the pain stop.
Exactly.
Also, if I don't like you and you're torturing me, because again, I've been in relationships, that's like torture that you enjoy. If I don't like you and you're torturing me, there's a good chance I'm going to send you to the worst place I could possibly send you to.
Exactly. So these characters torture somebody to get information because they want to find out who the big bad arch-nemesis villain is. They torture this poor sod. They fail a roll so utterly bad that they throw out the first thing they can think of. They go, you'll find more information over at the medical center. Look for Dr. Allcome. That's what the NPC says, because it's the only thing on their mind, trying to get the shit to stop. One of the characters rolls against the character to see if they're telling the truth. Fucking crit success. The enemy, I roll the dice, and I'm like, yeah, they're totally telling the truth. No bones about it. I don't fudge this on the GM side. I make it known that this person is telling the truth.
Right.
So the players all are convinced that this NPC has just told them the truth to go down to the medical center and look for Dr. Allcome. They go down to the medical center, and for the next 4 real-life hours, I have a group of bloodthirsty vampires. The first thing they do is walk into the front office, Ask the receptionist, where's Dr. Allcome? She looks at them, rolls her eyes. Second floor of the ICU, as always. They go to the second floor, go to the ICU, start asking for Dr. Allcome. They ask one of the nurses, and she's like, oh, he's already left. Problem's over. They continue for the next 4 in-game hours, roving through the hospital, all 10 floors, from the sub-basement to the top floor, looking and asking for Dr. Allcome. None of them got it. Every time they ask somebody, they just roll their eyes, groan, or just point down the hall at these fucking idiots who were dressed up in stolen... They stole fucking doctor's outfits.
Right.
Lab coats and shit with different names on them of people that, like, the hospital staff obviously knew these guys are sneaking around. And so they're just sending them on a wild goose chase. And finally, one of the players fucking starts slamming his hands on the table like a kid having a tantrum that he has to eat his fucking peas. He's like, what? You're doing this to us. You're fucking walling us in. You're blocking us. And I'm like... all right, fine. Have you guys seen Johnny Mnemonic? Or Johnny Mnemonic?
Johnny Mnemonic.
Johnny Mnemonic. And everybody at the table looks at me and they're like, no. And I'm like, well, then you can keep looking for Dr. Allcome. But I am not walling you guys in.
Right.
You went for this hook, line, and sinker. And it was only then that they realized that they were not looking for somebody who they wanted to. And my players felt like I was wasting their time for 4 hours.
No, the truth is the players brought it on themselves with that torture.
Yeah,
Again,
exactly.
One of my favorite forms of extracting information in my game comes back to my baby mama. She can cause pain, she can cause pleasure. She never used the pain to interrogate. She would use the pleasure because with her character, you can form an addiction like a heroin addict. Now you're going to tell her whatever she wants to know, and you're going to tell her truthfully or you're not going to get your next fix.
Exactly. Honey catches more flies than vinegar.
Right. Another player sin that I hate. Blaming the DM, and Blasphemous, I don't know if you've experienced this yet, but it will happen. Blaming the DM for your bad die roll.
It kills me.
Yeah, you're willing
fucking
to sin. You're willing to sin. Like a little kid having these peas, they were blaming me for wasting their time.
This fight's no fair. You're rolling crits. Negative crits. Like, this isn't my fault. I didn't decide I wanted to kill you. You guys decided you're gonna fight a god, and then you rolled like crap all night.
You know the one that got me, though? And you were there for this.
Mm-hmm.
When you guys were fighting those fucking constructs. Remember? It was when you bent your sword because you stabbed the statue because you wanted to.
Oh, yeah. No, I remember that crap.
Yeah, remember when someone was mad that they kept trying to... who was it? Someone kept trying to blow stuff up. Was it you? No, you weren't the one complaining about your rolls.
No, I didn't complain about my rolls. I just took them as they fell.
No, it was that other dude. I can't remember his name.
Dude.
It wasn't Narcissus or his wife. It wasn't me and it wasn't Q. It was the other person.
It wasn't Thoric because he wasn't here.
No.
Thoric didn't make it to that game sesh.
Yeah, I don't remember his name. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
We don't need to out the person
Well,
anyways.
no, we don't need to, but I was trying to remember who.
I'll out my players because fuck them.
Yeah. But, no, they're, like, every time they made a roll, they couldn't beat the AC of the golem.
Right.
And I had even toned them down, and they were just rolling shit, and they were getting pissed.
I got frustrated in-game. My character got frustrated at it. I myself was like, I'm a dumbass with a blade trying to fight a golem. This won't end well.
Yeah.
It wasn't the DM's fault.
On the same note, as I had the same group that threw a tantrum over Dr. Allcome, they had a habit of telling me, well, that shouldn't happen.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Arrogance.
It was arrogant as fuck. Like, one of the scenes, they parked their carpet of flying, like, it was about 50 feet off the ground by a tree. They all get off the carpet of flying and climb down the tree. They're on an island filled with cannibal halflings. The halflings eat other people who wind up on their island by accident. That's the way it works.
That's their thing.
That's their thing. The first thing they do is they find a village of these halflings. The halflings welcome them in, tell them stories, feed them food. Really gamey meat, but a lot of food. And there's this weird incense floating through the air, and everybody starts having to start making rolls because they've been well fed, and the incense is making them tired. When I explained to them, because the group, of course, forced me at this point to explain what's going on, nobody made a roll, and I was just like, okay, fine, fuck it. They're burning the incense. It's a slow-working drug to make you tired so they can tie you up. And it worked. because you made me explain it. No more rolls. One of them is like, well, why aren't they falling asleep? That shouldn't happen. And I'm like, iocane powder, dumbasses. And then, after they got done doing the shit with the halflings, which was an annoying experience anyway, that I just scripted on the fly, the halflings had tried to steal the carpet of flying because, hey, that would make a great food trolley.
I need to clarify really quickly because a bunch of my characters are going, or characters, a bunch of my players will listen to this one, right?
Yeah.
For those of you that are a little slow with this stuff, when he says iocane powder, what he's referencing is clearly they have had time to build up an immunity to it.
Exactly.
They're exposed to it on a constant basis. That's why it's not affecting them.
When they weren't eating other people, they were eating that shit, which
Right.
they built up a resistance.
Yeah.
Which is why they weren't falling asleep.
Right.
When they finally get back to their carpet of flying, the cannibal halflings saw the flying carpet as a potential food trolley. Because now they can go to other islands, holy fuck!
Right.
So they couldn't climb up the tree because the lower branches were too high. So they were trying to throw vines over it and pull it down. But of course, you have to be on the carpet of flying to activate it and work it. So all they did was make it list away from the tree and crash into another tree. When the players got to their carpet of flying and realized it wasn't sitting by the tree they parked it by, how did they respond? Well, that shouldn't happen.
Right. That's what I love too.
The third time they said that.
Angrily arguing with your GM about how things should and should not be in their story. I'm sorry, but again, unless you're paying me to play this game, I am doing you a massive favor by allowing you to run around in my imaginary headland. Okay? Essentially, you're playing in my mind rent-free. You don't get to get mad because it's not the way you thought it should be. I've had to actually yell at players before about if you don't like the way the scenario is going, you're free to leave, or you can start your own campaign and we'll see how that works. It's not good for a DM to get to that level of bitter. Okay, I always tell them, don't make it personal. But it's gotten personal before, and I've had to yell that at people because one simple oversight that they didn't notice during the game that happened, that I described in-game, has now put it to where it's not the way they thought it should be, and they start popping off at the mouth about it.
Maybe they should stop trying to watch YouTube videos or Google shit while game is going on.
It's like yelling at your boss at work, okay? Yeah, you may feel good doing it. There's gonna be consequences.
Yeah, that group actually got me to burned out pretty hardcore because one of the players actually got in my face about it, all angry. He took it personal, like you were mentioning, throwing a tantrum and shit.
Jiggles just sent me a picture of Cody's balls.
Nice.
Jiggles will suffer in tonight's game. Continue.
Oh, yes, he will. Anyway, the one of the players, he was every chance the player had.
Hey, Jiggles. Bah.
Oh, that's nice.
Every time, rule 12.5 on Jiggles. Tonight, the Q-Force does not like him.
Yeah, he literally sent me a picture of Cody bent over with his balls tucked back, and it said, podcast this.
Well, we just did.
Yes, we did.
So every time that sound plays, I want stuff to happen to him.
Oh, it shall.
Anyway, the player, he was doing everything he could to be violent in-game. Every chance he could. Interrogations, violence. Oh, gonna go hire, a cart to wheel us to the next place to go to. Handled with violence.
Right.
We're gonna go shopping. Well, how are we gonna handle that? Threaten the shopkeep. And of course, this had some blowback, and Johnny Law was starting to, close in on his character. He got pissed off, and the thing that was fucked up about it, this guy, he could not afford the core books to the game I was running. And I told him that, if I retired from gaming, he would inherit my Pathfinder books. So I quietly and calmly closed up all the books, laid them down with the GM screen on top. Where I was sitting, I stood up with an empty backpack and I said, enjoy your books. Walked out the door, leaving everybody there in the middle of a game session. Because that's what happens when you start getting angry with your GM and telling them how to run their game.
My players broke my campaign, my last big charity campaign that we did, broke my campaign so badly that I looked right at everybody and I was like, I'm done. I'm done for the night. But I explained to them, it wasn't even out of anger. It was just, they had shit the bed so bad that even with my rapidly computing brain for imagination, right, my schizophrenic fucking enhanced mind could not think of a way to get around the situation. It was, we're done, guys. There's nothing I can do from this point forward.
I mean, I even had to summon the singularity just to try and fix things, and
It made it worse. Somebody pet the singularity. It was bad. It was so bad.
What got bad?
The situation.
you want to give us a quick rundown?
No, because here's exactly what I'm doing with this situation. Okay, there was multiple things that affect reality were there that shouldn't have been there because Narcissus had to flex and the other guys had to flex and they were all trying to outcool each other. And it all culminated in the whole game being wiped and stuff being readjusted. Even now, it's been about a month. I have not done the resolution yet for the game simply because there's I need time to write how this all resolves out. It's too much chaos all at once can break a game.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's definitely one of the things of, if you're trying to do that, oh, chaotic me, I'm going to do whatever the hell I want, that will end your game.
Well, yeah, people don't even understand, though, too. It's like, it doesn't matter how powerful you are. There's other things out there that are stronger. That will come for you. Like, you can't just do whatever you want and expect there to be no consequences. Another fun thing that I love is people that think like, all right, I'm a level 10 character. I'm going to fight this god. And numerous times they'll get mad at me because I'll have them rolling their die, right? I won't roll in response for the god character. And they'll be like, well, it seems unfair that you're not rolling. I'm not rolling because you literally on your best day, even if you got a nat 20, you can't even touch this god. Even if you connected with all of your power and all of a big one almighty blast, it's not going to phase him, dude. He's not even going to feel it.
Yeah.
I hate when players tell the GM how to run a game. It doesn't work. It never works for a player to go, hey, that shouldn't happen, or that's not right, or this spell works this way. Because behind the scenes, there are a lot of factors the GM has to pay attention to. And when they're paying attention to a specific scenario, they usually have all the bases already covered, especially if it's pre-scripted that there might be an environmental hazard or a null magic zone.
Well, even like in my game, reality gets altered. So I'll have a player like Narcissus who won't play the game for 6 months, and then he'll come back and he'll be like, well, no, things should be this way, because that's how I remember it. That was a long time ago in-game. Like, in-game time, a lot has happened since then. You know, I know my job. I'm on top of my job. I don't need you as the player to try to correct me. Somebody that tries to rule Nazi a GM, you shouldn't play games, okay? If you think you know more about the game than your GM, you should go run your own game, because there's a special circle of hell saved for players that do that.
Exactly.
Especially with the amount of effort a GM has put in. Like, I'll keep saying it. The amount of effort any GM puts in, if they give half a fuck whether they're running a module, homebrew, complete bullshit campaign, power gaming, there's a lot of shit a GM has to do. Take all that stuff in. You only get breaks and you're like, all right, everybody, taking a smoke break, everybody get the fuck out of my space. Other than that, you are there the entire time, having to run all of this, keep all your NPCs in order, figure out exactly what they're fighting, what they're getting, trying to deal with their bullshit of, ooh, special snowflake.
Right, you've got to calculate all the fallout. You know what other gamer pisses me off? Alright, the player that wants to be a part of the game, and then they sit there, they say nothing, they do nothing. Other players get paid attention to because they're interacting with the game, and then at the end of the campaign, they get pissed off in real life. Like, they get irately pissed off, especially behind your back. That's even worse than getting pissed to your face. They'll get pissed behind your back because, quote, they got ignored the entire time and didn't get to play.
Well, that's like on what we mentioned earlier about the loner who runs off to go do their own fucking thing and then wonders why they're not part of the fucking game.
Well, it's like playing on a football team. Like, you can't wonder why kids aren't collecting your football card if you never do anything awesome to be remembered for. If all you do is sit there and do the bare minimum of what needs to be done, you'll be passed up for a promotion at work, bro. It's the same thing in a game. If you're not giving the GM a reason to focus on you, within reason, I'm not talking about stealing the show, but if you don't remind the GM that you want to interact with stuff, we are perfectly happy to have you not interact at all.
Or like when the player, wants, or they're sitting there, and the GM does pay attention to them, and they say some excuse like, well, I'm not involved in the scene, or I'm not there right now, or they come up with some excuse to not be paid attention to. So then they get passed up later, and they're like, well, why are you passing me up? It's not the GM's job to be including everybody every 5 fucking minutes.
Well, here's one of the things that I love is I have a player right now named Josh at the shop, and he plays with Jiggles a lot. Josh is very quiet, and he stays back. He does usually the bare minimum until he's needed for combat. Doesn't really talk. But he doesn't complain about it either. His character's always quiet, stoic dudes. And so his new problem that he has with the hero campaign is I have him being the number 2 in command. And his character cannot talk to the other players. And he, as a player, cannot communicate with the other players during game outside of character. He can only speak to me. And so it's great because we have it in game to where his character thinks that that's what makes a stoic hero. But this guy's not complaining about it. He's going with it. He's having fun with it. He's learned to own it. So, which is really good. But we're going to have to wrap up at this point. My ride has arrived, and now it's time for me to go hang out with the very players that we have spent the last 30 minutes complaining about. Well, and they shall reap what they have sown tonight. Podcast that, Jiggles.
And on that note, we're going to call it here. More We Digress in the future, which is pretty much going to be me, Matt, and the Game Goblin sitting down to talk about stuff. Other special guests, but we are going to pick a topic, digress about things until we feel we have wrapped it up or people have to go.
I don't care what it takes. I will get you to facilitate a movie review between me and our buddy Russell because we see completely different viewpoints, but we don't get heated, and I think you guys need this.
Oh, hey, since we have you here and we got a couple of minutes to wrap up for the moment, how do you feel about because I was told a different story and then you were like, what the fuck? So while you were here and we got a microphone, recorded evidence.
Yes.
How do you feel about a Warhammer versus Star Wars debate?
It is pointless, and I've had this talk with everybody involved. I'll make this really quick because my ride's here, but luckily he's a pothead, so he can't keep track of time. I've read the books for 40K. I've been studying the lore, which is great because Narcissus is trying to argue with me that you just haven't looked into it. Yes, I have. I've read all of it. 40K stands 0 chance against Star Wars. Star Wars is completely broken. It is the Superman of sci-fi. It's literally written to where no matter what you can pop up, we will break that with nonsense. They've now canonized that we can open a portal to the afterworld and physically bring people back. Not a problem. I was looking into our stupid broken force abilities. And again, I acknowledge that this is all broken, stupid, and retarded. We can literally use the force to open a portal in space and hurl black holes and stars at your planets. It is retardedly broken. I read through 40K. Anyone that plays it will even tell you they cannot keep building their technology anymore. They can't reverse engineer their technology to figure out how it was built in the first place. Most of human knowledge is lost. Their God Emperor is a decrepit husk of a man that they have to sacrifice 1,000 psychics to every day just to keep this dude alive so that horrible things don't come through their subspace portals to kill them. It is horribly overwhelmed by what we have. I even looked at the numbers. They couldn't win even if we dropped all our guns and just ran at them shaking fists. It's not possible. And I had this talk, and I conceded that it's only because Star Wars is so retardedly broken. I was willing to concede that. You win because we are cheaters. We will cheat. We will write new shit into it. We're canonizing new stuff every day. Every day, new stuff comes into Star Wars canon right now, and 40K hasn't had an update in God only knows how long, and we just keep pumping out newer, broken, overpower-scaled stuff. They don't stand a chance, and I would be fine with arguing this with logistics, with numbers, with everything, if my competition could do it without whining like little girls and getting angry.
I tried to find us
one of those. You should bring a different argument to the table and remind them, as Rios Tico would say, we fight for love.
How dare you mention her? How dare you?
Reminder, we're talking about the character, not the actor.
This is why people hate goblins.
And it was fucked up. Selfie looks exactly the same. I'm playing Final Fantasy VIII right now. Mm-hmm. And Selfie looks exactly the same. Same haircut, and she's wearing a yellow jumper.
Not inspired by anything.
Not inspired by anything.
Totally original.
Oh.
All right, so on that note, a fond farewell for now from the Fatimus. I'll try and get this edited up tonight.
I gotta cut you. I gotta say one last thing about the 40K versus Star Wars debate really quickly. This is the same thing that they'll tell you if you watch Death Battle or if you watch any other versus battle thing online. What it comes down to is core available material. 40K has a very limited supply of reference material compared to what Star Wars has. And literally every single week we have new comic book stuff being canonized all the time. They're outweighed by the amount of available information that we have. That's why you can't win. Your shit's already locked in. Ours just keeps getting dumber and bigger.
Okay, what if we put a
cap
on it and say pre-Disney?
If you have to cap it, then you've already lost. You've already acknowledged that you cannot beat us without capping us.
I'm not siding with 40K.
Even if you go pre-Disney, we literally, and I can show you guys references for this, we literally have Jedis that can teleport across the galaxy, walk through a wall, and stab your God King Husk in the chest. We have Sith Lords that look at your planet and wipe all life off of it. Immediately.
But he's hungry. He just wants some Twinkies.
No Twinkie. Alright, I gotta roll. Do your outro. Fatty out. I'm coming for that ass, Jiggles.
Game Goblin out.
All right, this is Darth Blasphemous signing off, and hope you guys have a great day, and I will catch you all around again. Again, this is the Blunt Force Gamers. Follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, this, that, and the other thing. We're on iTunes, Podbeam, YouTube. Check us out. Follow us. Drop a like.
Comment, subscribe. And if you like, comment, or subscribe in the presence of Fat Matt, and he lets me know, you might get some bonuses in MX. Just saying, that might happen. Anyway, he is right. We are on Podbean, which is our host for podcast. Also available on iTunes only recently. The metrics are still screwed. Yay. And if you have a topic that you wish us to discuss on our podcast, whether it's We Digress or the Blunt Force Gamers Official, email us at BFGAMERS or BFGamers HQ@gmail.com. Yeah, I think that's it. Anyway, good night.
Night, everybody. Peace.
Are you ready? Maximum sound.